Good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaWanda Burrell Love, and I am the instructional designer here at Moraine Valley, and I'm located at the Center for Teaching and Learning. What I'd like to talk to you today is about student engagement from an instructional design perspective. I want to give you some methods and strategies to help you engage your learners more in the classroom. When you create lessons and you go through the details of what you want to cover, it usually includes content along with assignments, and then there's a quiz or an exam at the end to validate the learning. During the review of the materials, students seem engaged in their learning. You send them home to do the assignments, they bring them back, they turn them in, and they still seem to be engaged. And then they take the quiz or the exam and they fail, or do less than what you had hoped, or they had hoped. A lot of times you're left wondering what happened. Some of the most common answers that come to mind are that the student didn't study correctly, a student was absent a lot, didn't complete the assignments correctly, and sometimes we want to take ownership and say, well, there was probably something wrong with our instruction, right? Well, in order to bridge the gap between when you actually give out instruction and when the student takes the exam, in order to bridge that gap and make a success, I would recommend using classroom assessment techniques. These techniques are not a new idea. They've been used quite a while, and I'm sure some of you are using some techniques right now. But what I'd like to do is take a look at some of our SETI benchmarks and then give you or equip you with some techniques that correspond with each of those benchmarks. And hopefully you'll be able to engage your learners more in the classroom. If you have any questions about the techniques and you want specific time, or you want for me to go through additional techniques with you and show you how to incorporate those into your classrooms, come to the CTL. I am there, room L244, and I'm available via phone, email if you need my help. Thank you. The first benchmark is active and collaborative learning, and the classroom assessment technique that you can use here is called focused listing. This technique is usually used when you show videos or presentations regarding a given topic. It is used to quickly determine what learners recall as the most important points related to your topic. It helps you to assess how well the students can describe a central point to a lesson, and doing this technique or practicing it can help students to learn to focus their attention and to improve their recall. The way it generally works is after you have presented the topic or you've shown the video, you're going to ask students to write a topic at the top of the paper. So for example, if we're talking about assessment, you would write the word assessment at the top of the paper, and then you would ask students to prepare a list of related points from the video that they found are important to understand this topic. You want to set a time limit or limit the number of items to write. So for example, you say, okay, we're going to talk about assessment. You have 3 minutes to come up with 15 points that you gathered from the video about assessment. Be sure to create your own master list as the instructor, because when you open up the dialogue, you want to compare what you have on your list to what your students have. So after the 3 minutes are up, you would do one of two things. If you want all of the students to report back to you and open up the dialogue, you can do that at this time, or you can have the students get into small groups and then they compare lists and they come up with a group list and then report that information back to the group. Either way you use it, it does create a nice dialogue between the instructor and your students, and they'll feel like they are actively being involved in their learning, and the students will be engaged. So again, that's focused listing. The next benchmark that we're going to talk about is academic challenge. In this benchmark, we want to encourage students to apply theories and concepts that they learn in the classroom to real life problems or apply to real life situations. So the application cards technique will tell the instructor how well students understand and if they are able to apply what they've learned. And from the student side, it gives them a connection to real life application, and it prompts them to connect the newly learned information to existing knowledge that they have. This technique can be used either after you've presented new material, or you may use it at the beginning of the next class session. The way you perform the technique is you give the students a blank index card. You ask that they put down at least one way that they can apply the information that they learned in the class, and then you're going to collect the cards and give the students a time frame of when they will receive the feedback. It's very important that if you decide to wait to give them the feedback, that you turn this around by at least the next class time. You want the feedback to come at the most opportune time. But if you do get a lot of application that requires that you spend a little time to go through each one of them, or you may have a large class size, please keep in mind that it's best to get that feedback back to them by the next class period. And this application cards technique will help students to feel engaged, and it will also help you to know that what they learn they do feel has relevance in their everyday life. The last benchmark that I'm going to discuss is student-faculty interaction, and the classroom assessment technique there can be something called quality circles. These circles are used so that students have an outlet to voice their opinions about assignments, classroom structure, and other classroom issues. This also engages the student in the flow of their class time. So the way the circles work is that the instructor in the class would decide what areas that the circle would need to focus on. The instructor would ask for volunteers to form one or more groups of 5 to 8 students to serve in the quality circle. You're going to need to offer incentives to being a part of this circle. You could offer homework passes or extra credit points for participating, and then there'll need to be a period to set up an agenda and guidelines for the circle. A meeting time will need to be voted on because you'll need to meet with the instructor outside of class, and this would be an ongoing process. You also want to encourage the students that are not in the quality circle to seek out the members and offer suggestions or criticisms to be discussed at the meetings. The people that are in the quality circles are serving as representatives for the class. So you might even want to think about using 5 or 10 minutes of your classroom time, maybe at the end, to give the students a chance to talk amongst each other of what they want the quality circle to talk about with the instructor. Once you have the meeting with the circle, you want to come back and respond to the class as a whole, just so that everyone in the class would know that all the needs are being addressed, as opposed to discussing what you're going to do in the circle and leaving it there. So again, this gives the student another way to interact with their instructor outside of classroom time. And while you can't put everyone in the circle, these people who are volunteers or maybe even appointed by their classmates could serve as a representative for the group. In order for students to feel engaged and excited about the learning, it's going to take teaching plus some classroom assessment techniques like focus listing, application cards, and quality circles to equal learner engagement. My name is LaWanda Burrell Love, and I'm the instructional designer. If you need any assistance with any of these techniques that I've went over today, or you want more information on techniques and instructional strategies and tips, you can find me at the Center for Teaching and Learning. I am available by appointment, via phone, or email. Thank you.